My people, what up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
We getting the ball rolling again, y'all. My guys, it's good to see you. I love y'all dudes. I wanna jump right into it again with some. No, I'm not gonna do the bad news. I got some bad news today, man. It's not really related to me, but it's still, shitty. But
yeah, I don't want to start with no bad news. Bro.
I know. I held back. You know what I'm saying?
But if it's on your spirit,
No, true. Yeah. So this ain't really my check-in, but I got one of my freshmen in school committed suicide over the weekend. Yeah, man. 14 years old, bro. The thing is, I didn't meet this particular student, but when I saw the picture of his face, I'm like, nah, I don't know him, but it was just unfortunate, man. 14 years old. 14, bro. You know what I'm saying?
It's different now, man.
It's so unfortunate, man, because every time I hear about a suicide, right, no matter what demographic, gender, age, race, I always think about, who did they have to talk to? Not to say they didn't, right? Just that's where my mind goes first, like who did they have to talk to, And and I think it's getting better. We're getting better as a society with normalizing mental health and therapy, But I know before, I never forget, when I was younger, it was like my parents, it was like, man, only white people go to therapy. We don't need no therapy. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of like the sentiment.
Didn't we drop that in the first episode? That's a stigma wrapped around us, which is why,
yeah. So I just wonder, who they, and that's tough. At 14, right. Can't imagine what they were going through. But
so we got all the service, we got all the social workers on deck tomorrow. Cleared off, close the library down. Everybody gonna be in there in case somebody needs some support or whatever. I'm saying, get somebody to talk to, whatever. That just reminds me, I think I should get back on. I used to do the morning announcements every day. We have virtual morning announcements, and I haven't done them in a while. I used to go on there, tell a little corny dad joke and give a quote of the day or whatever. I haven't done it all this year. I think I should go back in there and kind of try to give some life to the kids, I guess. Maybe I'll start doing that again.
That's what's up.
Yeah. But anyways, on a lighter note, God rest, so I don't want to brush that off like it's nothing, but God rest his soul. My kids are happy and healthy, bro. We had a big a big football game party. I said, had my kids all dressed in my Niner gear. You know what I'm saying? We was wilding. It was a good day.
He was holding them kids hostage, man. You should have saw it.
Good.
But I saw he sent me a photo.
It was good. Seen the photo, bro. They was good. And my Niners won. Go Niners. In addition to that, everything's been peace around here. My daughter told me she didn't want to watch a movie with me today, y'all. I was crushed.
She's here now.
I was crushed, man.
That's age appropriate.
I was like, man, you want to watch a movie? No. What you mean? No. I'm still hurt by it. I'm not even gonna front.
That's age appropriate, bro. It, yo. She at that age. It makes sense.
She was like, no, daddy. I'm like, what you mean? What you doing? Not in my room.
Nothing with you.
Right. And it begins. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Other than that, I'm good though. But yeah, P, she was like, yeah, I don't just no. Nah, you straight.
Hey man, all the kids do that to me now. We get 15 minutes in, they bounce out. I'd be like, yes. Perfect. I can go do some
your kids age appropriate too.
Right. Yeah, man. They have that space where they got their own things they're into. So if I catch them on a movie, cool. If I don't, cool. I'm not sure. I ain't beat myself up about it.
Y'all just holler at me, man. Y'all need parenting tips. You know what I'm saying? I'm tried and true. You know what I mean?
That's seasoned.
Got a 24-year-old turning 25 in a few months. You know what I'm saying? So I'm tried and true. Just let me know what y'all need. You know what I mean? I send an invoice. I take care of you.
Making biscuits for the projects.
Yeah.
What you got, Bell? Check in.
A lot going on, man. A lot going on. It's interesting. Maybe we should make this another topic. I love how when we catch up, I'll be thinking about stuff that, be in my in my recessed brain, but I don't really talk about it. But a lot going on, man. A lot of changes at work, all good changes, but you got to adapt, and I feel the pressure a little bit. Last year being my first year in the role, and I did really well, really, really well. Exceeded expectations. And but now it's now you got to do it again. You know what I'm saying? And now you can't do it the same way you did it last year. right? Like you got to go to a different part of your game, you know? So.
Wait, hold up. It's been a year.
Yeah.
You've been in Boston for a year.
On January 30th, it'll be a year.
Damn.
It's been a year?
Word. Yeah, remember we were just having this conversation.
Word.
Wow.
So yeah, things are good. It's just, you know, I just feel it. You know what I'm saying? I got to go to a different part of my game, which is uncomfortable because, you know, my first year, I went with my default, my strong suit, right? Like leadership, people, developing. Like I went there, but now they developed. You know what I'm saying? So now I got to go to a more strategy, right? And get uncomfortable with me not being as comfortable in strategy as I am in leadership and management. You know what I mean? So just getting that, you know, but putting the right people around me to help me, and just trying to get right all around, man. I know this is going to be a big year, so that's why I've been on my workouts, man. I've been doing, and I did 3 2-a-days last week.
That's
what I mean, like I've been on it, man, and I just know my mental got to be right, you know, to bear the weight of what's happening. But yeah, I'm good, man. You know, just I'm good. P. What about you, P?
Everything's straight, man. I think really trying to tap in for this wedding in November, man. Adjusted to, you know, the new shifts and everything, man, and just figuring out what's next for the art, you know, trying to win this Grammy next year. So
I'm
putting that
excited.
Whole idea together.
P, I'm hella excited. I don't know why it just hit me, but I'm hella excited to see the boys suited and booted, boy.
Oh man,
that's gonna make me feel good, yo.
Come on, man. This wedding's about to be
Yo,
silly.
That's gonna make me feel real good seeing the boys suited and booted and lined tight. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, it's gonna be a sight. It's gonna be a beautiful sight, man. So yeah,
that's gonna be.
No, it's all good. You know, just preparing for everything, man. Trying to keep the revenues open, man, and hustle and grind and keep getting healthy, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so before we get into today's topic, I wanted to we're gonna put this out there, my people. So from the very, very beginning, we've been very adamant about you guys growing with us through the process. Like we started on the couch in my man's basement on some like, we here, this is what we gonna do. And we on episode like 40, 40 something ish right now. And y'all rocking with us heavy. We getting more and more people emailing us. Like we get some more followers on Instagram. Like the level up is happening. It's coming real soon. Like all that stuff is going. So we're trying to figure out how we can best package this deal to give y'all the best quality product. We get new microphones soon and all that, so it's gonna be dope. Nevertheless, I think my question for right now is it the longer episodes y'all like, the shorter joints? Like what's the good time for y'all tuning in? Somebody told us 30-minute joint was too short, an hour and 10-minute joint is too long. Like we like 45 minutes is cool, but then like that's too short. So y'all, you know, y'all whatever y'all want, email us and let us know what's going down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because if you haven't noticed, we don't mind listening to ourselves talk, so we can keep going. Right. That's why we're looking for some direction.
We can definitely keep this party going for sure. But today's topic, y'all want to lead us in, fellas? Somebody?
Yes, I think it's fitting for you to lead us in.
All right. Well, you know, I don't know what the exact title is going to be on the actual podcast, but I believe we're discussing anger and forgiveness. Or did we come up with a different word for that?
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I wanted you to do Prentice because this spawned from last episode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this was not going to be a topic until you brought up your relationship and how you got to the place where you're able to forgive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, to put it in a nutshell, man, I don't even think I was as detailed. And I thought about it after we were talking last week when I was talking about how I don't feel the same towards my father anymore. Like I don't have that pent up anger and aggression. And I actually realized what did it, man. And, you know, it's still uncomfortable discussing it now, but I think what did it was the falling out or whatever the separation between me and my mother this year. I think that's what got me towards really healing with my father, because not having my mom around like I used to for whatever reason really, really fucked me up. You know what I'm saying? Like that really has been impacting me this year. And so I knew that there were a couple of decisions I had to make and adjustments and things like that. And I just could not start to come to grips with the strain between my mother and I without really, I think, dealing with my dad. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like this one weighs even more.
Pete, so y'all know this already, and the people who've been watching know this, but like, I leave these conversations a better person every single time. Like I really do, regardless of what we're talking about. And I struggle with certain things in my head. Like I want to be able to get things off my chest. And as writers, we tend to put our pain on the page. And oftentimes, I remember one point, Bill, I was really, everything I wrote was designed to be presented on stage. And I was struggling with some situations I was going through, and I was talking to P about it. He's like, yo, everything ain't for the stage. And that shit, like, it really, like, I don't know why I felt like I couldn't write in my journal unless I had to put it out there. So I say all that because in listening to you from the last episode, I'm sitting there going, yo, I also struggle with my relationship with my dad, and hearing what you're going through and how you came to that place, I'm like, I need to write about this. I got a million poems about it, but I think what I wanted to do was like write him a letter.
And this is so crazy, because when we decided to talk about this, you and your pop's relationship didn't even cross my mind, even though this was spawned from Prentice's relationship with his pops and how he got to his place. I didn't even think for a second about how you can get to the place where Prentice is and forgiving your dad. I didn't even think about that.
Right.
That's crazy.
And so in listening to this last, in with P, I'm like, I think what'll really, in being in this open space with you guys, I think what really is gonna like help me just get over this. And I believe I'm cool, but I think just to really put the stamp on it is writing him this letter and either sending it to him or just throwing it on social media and just putting it out in the world and being like, yo, this is off my chest and I'm there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not opposed to that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's a method that's gonna be good for me, because I'm really like, once I get it out, I'm good. Like I feel like that one particular situation that I was talking about with P, like I got it all out and I read it a couple of times and I literally threw it away and I felt better and I feel better based off it. You know what I'm saying? So
my question is, one, don't put it on social media, right? That's one. Two, if and when you write it, will it be worse if you get zero response?
No. This isn't for him. This is for me. This is for me to come to that place of forgiveness.
No, I know. Are you going to share it with him though?
I may or may not. I might just send it to my sister. Let her send it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to be able to get it out, I think would be really big for me, because I haven't been able to like just let, as cliche as it sounds, let it all out.
Yo, go ahead, Prentice. You was about to say something. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say sometimes you got to get there, man. You know how it goes. It's like writing a poem, man. You got to get that shit on paper. Then you can edit, tweak, figure out if that shit is for the people or if it ain't. But sometimes you got to get it out. And sometimes, honestly, putting it out in the public atmosphere isn't a bad idea. One thing I do all the time in my stories on Instagram, I talk out loud. I kind of process out loud on there, because there's a lot of amazing people who follow me. You know what I'm saying? And oftentimes I get feedback or ideas that may counter the direction I'm going, that may be like, maybe that's something to consider. Maybe I'm not looking at this in a way that's, as healthy as possible for me. So sometimes putting it out there can help, but you got to get it out first.
It all depends on what you want to get accomplished.
Yeah, that's true.
Because when you put it out there, now you've given everybody permission to give you their input.
And
if you're not at a certain space,
and it's crazy, because I have an issue with that too, because like as much as I don't care what people think, like I'm good at being like, nah, whatever, and keeping it pushing. But I'm also, you know what, Bell? I think it's more so with you guys, not myself. Like the other day when we was reading the comments on the podcast, and do like a 5-minute in, you're talking about vaccinations and blah blah blah. This isn't therapy for me. I'm like, yo, don't talk about my people. Like I was more offended for you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck is this cat? You dig? But I'm like, you know what? In my personal thing, I don't care what they say. But I think that bothered me because it had something to do with you guys. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, and we can move on, because I didn't. Again, it's just dawned on me. But in my opinion, right? In my opinion, that moment is more for you than everybody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. Like it's healing for you. So I think if you get to a place where you can share it with him in the world, or however you want to do it, I don't think sharing it, if you've come to a place where it's no longer a burden, maybe that's a better way to say it. If you've come to a place, because right now it's a burden, right? I don't think it's an apparent burden. Like I don't think it shows up every day in your life, but I think it's still something that's there, right? That's one. Two is when, and what we're gonna talk about today is when you get to that place where, because your dad never apologized, right? So when you get to that place where you can forgive him, regardless of what he's done and what he's doing and will continue to do, then it can, in my opinion, then that's when it's like, okay, y'all do what y'all want with
honestly,
this. It's no longer my issue.
And it's crazy because after hearing P tell his story last episode, it was like a sigh of relief for me. It was like, yo, you can do it too. You know, like everybody's doing it, but that's what it felt like. And it was like, yo, like, I don't need to like carry this burden no more. And although, like you said, it doesn't show up on my everyday life, it's like I can get it out and be done with it and feel good about it.
Prentice is a strong candidate for MVP. He done inspired both of us already this year. Me, hey, man, I buy myself some stuff, and you that you can get there in the road to forgiveness. Hey, speaking of which, go ahead, Prentice.
My bad. I was gonna say I kind of we'll get into it later, but I kind of have to, given what's going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I have to. But yeah, let's get into it, man.
So P, you were able to get that there without the apology, and I think that's something that people often struggle with because we're looking for these people who have done us, who have wronged us, to apologize, and sometimes we'll never get it. And the forgiveness necessarily isn't always for them; it's for ourselves. Because even then, sometimes those apologies don't be really sincere to begin with.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
go ahead, Prentice.
Nah, go ahead, Bill. It's cool.
Yo, so this is just fitting, just based on a couple of things that's been going on with me recently. So I'm the type of person when I was younger, like I held grudges. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember, I'll never forget this. And this isn't that big of a deal, but like I was in 7th grade, I fought this kid, and he's from this block that they ain't really fuck with us and we ain't fuck with them. Anyway, I beat him up in middle school. We got to high school. We had mutual friends because my man was from that block. And I remember seeing him in high school, and my man was there. He's like, yo, Bell. He's like, yo, like, what's like, y'all can be cool now. And the dude I fought put his hand out to shake my hand. Like, yeah, this will be good. And I was like, man, whatever, man. And I walked off, right? Because I'm like, yo, I'm not, this is not, this shit for life, bro. Like, you don't try me, and you know what I mean? Like, but I'm no longer like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm no longer in a place where, like, I feel like I need to hold that grudge, you know, because what I realized is when you do, that person has control over your emotions. You know what I'm saying?
Subconscious or not, though. Like sometimes we're in that space, we don't even realize what's been going on, and that person now definitely has control over your emotions. You're right.
Yeah, and that's when I realized that. That's when and now there's levels, bro. There's levels, right? So I know we're talking about sincere apologies. There's levels because in that particular case with somebody with no relation that I had a falling out with, or not as strong of a relationship, I could let it go because he's a non-factor in my life. Now, when you got a spouse, right, somebody that you care about, and you get an unsincere apology, that hits different. You know what I'm saying? When you get an empty apology. So I think that factors in, and I think it's based on proximity.
So I teach, there's a quick lesson I teach my kids, my students sometimes in school, where just for those, I tell them there's a difference between making amends and apologizing. And I was like, you save the apology for the big shit, but you can still make amends. You can go to the class and be like, miss, you know, what I was doing, I was in class talking, that wasn't cool. Like, I'm gonna do better next time, I'll pay attention. You know, I heard what you said, I'm gonna listen to you next time. Like, did you apologize? No, there was no apology, and you recognize what you did and told you're gonna work on it. So when you say sorry next time, you go, yeah, you apologized last time. No, I didn't. Last time I said I recognize what I did. This time I'm actually sorry for what happened. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, there's different, but nevertheless, some of their apologies are like, sorry, okay, now can I get back into class?
Yeah.
You're sorry that your apology didn't mean nothing. So when I think as a rule of thumb, when people apologize, you should always recognize what it is you're apologizing for in the middle of the apology. Instead of just being like, I'm sorry, or I apologize. It has to be, I'm sorry for blah, 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 blah. And even perhaps declare some intent of how you plan to change the behavior in that apology.
So what's interesting in my situation, I think with both of my parents is a question for y'all. Can you guys, and we mentioned this, can you guys forgive if they don't apologize? Because that's like my circumstance. So what I noticed is I realized the anger and frustration left from my father because it kind of shifted to my mother. You know what I'm saying? And that is the one I really have been doing the most work over since April to process. And it honestly kind of felt like getting myself in a healthy space for somebody who has always mattered in my life versus my father kind of put in perspective the significance of the anger and hostility I was carrying for my dad. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm now dealing with my mama. My mama's not fucking with me. You know what I mean? My mom is showing up to football games for my boys and not speaking to me. You know what I'm saying? Even when I speak to her. And that shit was like the biggest, what the fuck is going on? You get what I'm saying? So I knew that I really had to deal with a whole new set of conflict and challenges that I've never dealt with before, which made the shit with my dad, like, it just wasn't a big deal anymore. You get what I'm saying? Like, in comparison to this. So I think that somehow through working on, you know, this lack of relationship with my mom now and putting that in a new place allowed me to put my father's issues in a permanent space. Because I'm getting better with the situation with my mom. I'm coming to grips with what it is, and I've established my boundaries. I've done a lot of this work. I've done a lot of work. So it's showing me that, yo, if you can do this with moms, oh man, that shit with your, get over that shit.
No, I hear you. I'm not gonna front, yo. I'm like, so there's a couple things going on in my mind right now. One is it's just hard for me, bro. Like, I commend you, but in the same token, I really, in my inside wants to be like, yo, you gotta try one more time. Like, I just don't know if I'll be able to do it. So here's the kicker.
I knew you was gonna say that. And this is you always tell me that, and this is the thing that I think is interesting. Sometimes I think we have a hard time understanding other people's perspective because of our personal connection to that subject matter. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Sometimes, and this is what I'm noting, and this specifically with you, because you're the only person I really talk about this shit to, outside of Sarai, y'all are. But
the world knows.
Oh shit! Well, who I talk to, nigga, they can know. They know what I'm talking to my nigga. Man. So what
you
I
have
mean
people
is,
in Bangladesh that know about the situation, man.
What the thing? I forgot what the fuck I was gonna say now.
Well, you was talking about how people being personally connected to.
Right. It's hard sometimes for people to fathom that you get to a space of healing or understanding or boundary setting that ends up omitting somebody who's very significant or has been very significant in your life. And I think that's what it is. But I think it's really important to touch on that subject where there are going to be times, this is a perfect example, where you're on your journey to healing and putting things in perspective. And although you may not necessarily want things to be this way, they're the most healthy circumstances for you. And when you holler at your people sometimes, because of their relationship, because of what you know about my life, because you know where mom's is, it's hard to fathom that concept. But the reality is that sometimes you got to put people in a different position later on in life in order for you to grow. You just got to.
And, you know what I mean? Not necessarily the traditional role.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And again, that title that people hold is a lot of times the only thing that has us feeling guilty, conflicted, or challenged about putting somebody in a different place in our life. Exactly. But they're still a person. You get what I'm saying? Like, the title doesn't omit disrespect. The title doesn't omit communicate. You get what I'm saying? So, so I feel you.
I'm gonna say,
but it's healthy.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this then. The second thing that was in my head, and never mind. I'm gonna leave that alone. But I will.
No. Go. Let's do it.
I will say this. I think I mentioned a couple episodes ago, but it was something like avoiding difficult conversation isn't protecting your peace. And I'm not talking to you. So right now, because you're in this place right now, anybody who can transfer this message to maybe Mrs. Powell, and I don't mean no offense, Pete, but if what she's doing is protecting her peace right now by avoiding difficult conversation with you, I encourage her to reach out to my home. I mean, that's where I sit in this.
You know what's interesting, man, and I'll be honest, this all led to me really understanding that our parents are people. This situation with mom started. That's when I started saying that
like
on the
ourselves
podcast.
are flawed.
You remember, but I started talking about titles and labels because I was getting closer to start to get comfortable enough to publicly say something. You know what I mean? Because I know moms probably tunes in or people tap in, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't established yet in my space and my health to publicly address it in case I got feedback. You get what I'm saying? And I think sometimes when it comes to, and back to the main subject, can you forgive if they don't apologize? I think sometimes you have to go through circumstances just like mine to be able to forgive if they don't apologize. You got to sometimes set your own boundaries in order to forgive. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're looking too much for something from somebody else when it takes us getting to a certain space as an individual to be able to forgive. You feel me?
So now, so the question I ask you, well, I want to be able to delineate between cutting people off and forgiving them.
Right.
Because there is a big difference. And some people are like, yeah, I just don't deal with Bell anymore. We're good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but have you forgiven Bell and still not being able to deal with him? You know what I'm saying? So you're saying right now, you're in that space where you obviously aren't dealing with your pop, but you've forgiven him.
Yes. I can wholeheartedly say that I got, like live, Prentice. You know what I mean? To my father, like live.
Have you come to that space of forgiveness with your mom? Are you in that space of where we're not talking right now, and I'm just being able to accept that?
I'm getting there, and I'll tell you why I'm getting there, because of the wedding. I have to get there because of the wedding, because they're not going to be there. You get what I'm saying? Like my parents aren't going to be at my wedding. And I got to that point. Because I removed the title, and I looked at the circumstances. I looked at the energy, the vibe. I looked at my effort. I looked at my attempts. And like anybody else, there are people who are close friends who are not on the wedding list. Why? Because the last couple of times I engaged with them, I didn't like the energy. And I don't want to risk that moving forward. So when we talk about boundary and put people in a certain place, it's okay if my parents aren't at the wedding. Does that mean I'm never going to speak or not talk? No, that just means that you're not going to share a part in this part of my life because you've chose not to be a part of my life for X amount of time. And this one event doesn't omit the effort you have not put in, or the things that you have avoided, or the behavior that you've shown. You feel me? So I can't say all of this stuff that's impacted me since April doesn't matter when it comes to my wedding. You got to be, no. I've established boundaries where the people involved in my life and the people who want to be there show that they want to be there, right? And if we have conflict, what we do is we work it out, we talk about it, we don't ignore it, and we don't make a deeper hole. Now, I'm at the point in my life with anybody who does this, anybody, I have to assess my relationship. And I have to think first and foremost about where I am and where my family's at and where you stand in that. And if you're not showing the behavior I need, regardless of your title, I'm going to have to shift you. And that doesn't come with hostility, and it doesn't have to come with anger. And I think we don't talk about that enough. I think what it really has to deal with is making sure that we're not giving fake forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to make sure that we're genuinely forgiving somebody, and we're not just putting on a facade for the moment.
Let's pause for a second, fellas. We've said a lot, like a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack. And Chief, I just want to address not address, but ask a question. Actually, you said something earlier where you were like, "All right, well, I'm in reference to your dad." You was like, "I'm gonna get to something to the effect of I'm gonna get to the point or whatever." But you was like, "I'm gonna try this again." You know what I'm saying? what does try this again mean to you as it pertains to your dad?
I'm not sure if I can recall what you're talking about, but remember, I did have a sit down with my pop, and we had a conversation, and I think what I just did was put myself in. I just talked about. I put myself in a space of we ain't talking, we don't rock. It is what it is. But I don't think I've come to a space of genuine forgiveness. It doesn't matter in my day to day because it doesn't show up, like you said, it doesn't show up every day. Every now and then sit back going, whatever. But I'm not really bothered by it. But when talking about it, I realized that.
But you're bothered enough by it to not let it go.
And that's my point. So when I say try it again, I think I need to put a sincere concern or focus on the forgiveness part of it.
The reason why I asked that question specifically was I wanted to understand, because when you said try it again, I'm like, does he mean try a relationship again? Or does he mean just try to get to a place where he can forgive? That's what I wasn't clear on.
And I think it's forgiveness. And honestly speaking about, like, even with the forgiveness, and that's why I know it's going to be harder than I think it is, because even with the forgiveness, I still don't think I would come to a place where I'd feel a relationship is necessary. Like if I forgive him and he goes, yo, I heard what you said, son. I read your letter and I really want to mend these wounds. And it's just like, I'm a grown ass man, dog. Like there's absolutely nothing you can do for me now.
Is that true though?
Yeah, because I got a question. What is the difference with me saying that with my parents? Like, what if I got to the point where I was like, okay, it is what it is, but I don't see the need for anything future. You get what I'm saying? Not from an anger space, but if I'm okay with the circumstances that they're in, I don't see a need to continue a relationship that isn't healthy for me. What's the difference between me doing it and you doing it with your pops?
I think it's connection. Like there's zero connection, Pete. Like at least like up until a few years ago, I could walk by this man and not know it was him. You know what I'm saying?
So because I have a connection, do you feel there's an obligation on my part?
Good question.
I guess it's the double standard. No.
Good question. So
I don't think we're saying anything different. I think the relationship is the only thing that's different.
Maybe it's relationship value. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
or maybe
I assume because your pop had a spurt in your life that there's more value. You hold on to him a little bit more than I hold on to mine. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe, just maybe, the lack of relationship with your pops is so overwhelming that you can't see past it. And what you're saying
there's always a something that wants you to put in some type of effort to see if something can. I feel like that's what's happening with you. Like you say that you're cool if you don't have a relationship, but it still sounds like you need another piece for genuine closure.
Like, I don't know what that piece looks like though.
So
I think this letter is it.
I feel you.
Chief, here's the deal, bro.
You got to acknowledge the piece that says it's okay. It's okay. I understand it's okay if I never feel like I get absolute closure. You know, and I feel like I understand that I may not, because of the significance of individuals, because of history, because of my life. You know what I mean? But I think there's still a space where we can find ourselves being okay with relationships we have, even if we don't feel a total sense of closure, because we also have to rely on somebody else in these circumstances.
Yo, real quick. This is not in the same vein, but it does have to do with lifting the burden, right? So closure, like what is closure, right? What does that mean? It's closure for you, Chief. You need him to come back, make amends, right? Hey, I know what I did with you was wrong, but here's what I did with my other kids, right? Whatever, I'm just making shit up, right? Like, is that closure? Is closure like him apologizing to Peaches? Is that closure?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is closure like, yo, son, I was a piece of shit, right? I'm still a piece of shit. I never learned from my mistakes. However, I now see what that did to you and how that affected you. Is that closure? Or is closure like, yo, he was a piece of shit, right? He might have had his reasons. But the fact is, he was not there for me or my mom. And you know what? Look at me now. Right? And so when you, if whatever you deem closure, right? That's what you have to figure out first. Like, what are you looking for? You know what I'm saying? And this is just my opinion. I'm obviously not a fucking therapist. But the example I was going to give you, and again, not the same vein, not the same thing, but I remember, yo, and I mentioned this before in other episodes, I remember being a prospect, NFL prospect, and I remember it not working at first. And I remember coming home, right? Yo, Bell, what's good? Like, all this shit. And I'm explaining to myself, running back class, I'm going through it, right? Every conversation, somebody's asking me this, and I'm doing it time and again. And then one day, closure for me, what I realized was me coming to terms that, you know what, I wasn't good enough, right? I say that to people to this day, and they try to rebut me. Nah, but you did this. Nah, bro, I just wasn't good enough. And that's okay, right? Like, I was able to put my ego aside and be like, you know what? This was the closure I needed. I needed to be honest with myself. This is what I needed. I'm not good enough, because once I did that, bro, I was able to move on and start a new career, right? But if I held on to that, I would have been stagnant, because I would have been trying to find my way. You know what I'm saying? Every chance I got, you know what I'm saying? It ain't work out, but I'm about to go do this. We all know people like that, right? But that was and again, not the same thing, but that's what I needed to move on. So when you say closure, Chief, yo, that's why you got to keep going to your therapist, man. I'm telling you, bro, this shit is deep rooted. And I don't even think, bro, and this is my opinion, I think it has less to do with you and more to do with Peaches, if I'm being honest. Because I don't know that you care that much that he left you, but I think you more so know what you went through, struggling, coming up, and knowing that he's an easy person to blame, right? For your upbringing or challenges or whatever. And again, right, it made you who you are today. So, shame on him, but you good. But I think that's what you got to figure out, my nigga. You got to figure out, like, what you need to be free.
And also
that's my opinion.
My bad, Bill. I'm sorry. I keep running.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
And I think the next question, like, I would ask you is, and this is a question for anybody, dealing with stuff. And feel free, if you guys are listening and can relate, please email us. We love to hear circumstances. We love to hear situations. A lot of your emails are really insightful for us as individuals and collectively. So, when you feel something you hear, let us know, man. We can keep these topics going. But Chief, how do you get there?
Yo, I'm not even gonna front, P. Like, just growing up in general, yo, writing has really been therapy for me, bro. And the crazy part is I've written so many poems about lack of relation with my dad and yada, yada, yada. But I think this time it's different because it's me putting it all out there. Like, this isn't a crafty poem that I'm creating with some cool wordplay or whatever. I'm just going to talk to him on paper and be like, here, it's there. And I honest to God, fellas, I really feel like that's going to be a release for me, bro. Because I bullshit you not, P. When you said, you don't got everything ain't for the stage, it was like light bulbs went off. Like, it was like one of the most profound things I ever heard. Like, he's right. You know what I'm saying? And I wrote it down. I wrote it down and I got it out. And I like, that hasn't bothered me since that particular situation.
I mean, you can also correlate that to forgiveness in a way, man. Like, like once you understand that all of your work is not meant for the stage and some of it is personal, you have to have those experiences to realize that. And I think, like, just with like coming to space of forgiveness, you get in certain circumstances with certain people where you're like, you know what? I'm comfortable in this space. This space works for me. You know what I mean? And if you're thinking about your healing, sometimes you got to sit in different pockets of spaces with different people when it comes to forgiveness. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's, I forgive you, but I got to stay 6 feet away. I'll fuck with you when we go out and have a drink, but I can't fuck with you on some personal or business shit. And sometimes it shifts along the way. And I think you can get to certain places with forgiveness where you understand, okay, maybe the purpose of this relationship was for us to get to this point. And it doesn't mean that whatever happened in the relationship previously isn't valued and respected. It just means that it's a different season now, and you got to put people in a different place.
Nah, I hear you. I think for me, it's tough because like Bell knows, like it's just hard given the title of the person that we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In your regard. And that really,
but
like
hard for who though?
Right. And it's thing. like it's crazy because I'm saying the same thing. I'm doing the same thing that P is doing on one regard, and just maybe it's because I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you what it is for me.
Real quick, Prentice. I think you hold him as your dad to the standards that you hold yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what's so troubling. Right? For those who don't know, like Chief's like the epitome of textbook dad, like phenomenal father, right?
100%.
And I think that's what it is. I think you're holding you look at it like I could never do that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to forgive because then you look at like walking away from your kid, like you'll never do nothing like that. But what I had to realize with my daughter's mother is you can't rationalize the decisions because the decisions aren't rational. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't rationalize irrational behavior.
You can't.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where you're getting hung up too, because you're looking at like you're my opinion, you're holding them on a pedestal, not a pedestal, at a standard that he should never be held at. You know what I'm saying? Like he should never be held at that standard, and you're holding them there, which makes your expectations higher. Where it's like, nah, man, that's Clement from around the corner. Like he ain't nobody dad as far as I'm concerned.
And even if he is, man, I think you got to understand too, people knock themselves off of pedestals we place them on, and that's not our fault. You feel me? That's not your fault if you got somebody somewhere and their behavior changed, their demeanor, something changes, and all of a sudden they're demoted in your eyes from where they used to be. That's not on you. And I think sometimes we want to raise them back up to where they were because we're disappointed in who they are now. And sometimes you got to let people be who they are. And I think that's why the title shit is something you really got to deal with. You really got to deal with the title because that title will have you stuck. It's like being in a relationship with a toxic girl. She's your girlfriend, but she's the worst fucking girlfriend you ever had. And I know for me, I look at my marriage, at my previous marriage as a perfect example. I took everything from that, learned from it, and learned to appreciate what the fuck it did for me, even though it was fucking trash for 6.5 years. But I have this new appreciation and value for those trash ass 6.5 years because they made me who I am now, and I have a better understanding. Why can't I apply that to a different relationship? It's okay when I say that about a previous marriage, but if it comes to a parent, why can't I take the lessons learned, apply them now, and be okay with what it ended up being? Yeah, can't answer that, motherfucker.
You make an extremely valid point, and it's something. You know what's crazy?
Simple. Once you simplify this shit, it's that simple.
I think this is the dopest shit about the podcast, yo. There was zero intention on going in this direction today.
At all.
You know what I'm saying? Like there was no, we got, ladies and gentlemen, my people, we started off with 5 bullet points of how we wanted the conversation to go. And we kind of still weave through those bullet points. But this was not the direction the conversation was going at all. And to be able to do this and receive this therapeutic session from with your peoples means a lot. Like it's growth. I'm gonna be a better person from when I hit the end button on this joint because we had this conversation on people and we put this out in the air, yo. And I think that's the best part about us doing this, fellas. Again, this is for us, and we hope y'all joining us. But I'm so appreciative of y'all dudes, man. Y'all just don't know. So P, Bell, how do you know you got there? When do you know you've arrived at the place of forgiveness? What does it feel like?
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Like recently, I mentioned this to you. Well, I mentioned this to the podcast, but me and my mom was going through something recently. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt she took advantage of a situation, put me in the bind. more ways than one. And I felt it was selfish. You know what I'm saying? So as a result, I wasn't speaking to her. I wasn't speaking to her for a little minute. And because I was furious. And everybody I spoke to about the situation, they all sided with me, right? And they all saw like I don't know why that would happen, why that don't even make sense. But what I realized, yo, is so I forgave her, right? I forgave her, and I didn't call her and say I forgive her. I didn't do any of that. I just started talking to her again, and I let it go, because I was hung up on like, how you gonna do this to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, all your kids, you gonna do this to me? Like that's how I felt. You know what I'm saying? Like I took it personal. You know what I'm saying? But then I had to realize, man, like people will handle situations how they best see fit. May not be the way I'm gonna handle it, but that's how they best see fit. So I took it as that's an isolated incident, and I moved on. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit was affecting a lot, like me holding on to that, being uncomfortable. We have family events. Do I speak to her? Do I not speak to her? You know what I'm saying? Like it was, I had too much going on, right? To harbor that. You know what I'm saying? So I let it go. And she never apologized or nothing like that. And she may never apologize. And that's cool. I don't even need it at this point, right? Because I chalked that up to, she handled that based on her life experiences, and that's her life experiences got her to the point where she felt that that was the best way to handle it. I took myself out of it and took the relationship out of it. And I was like, you know what? I didn't die, right? Like, I'm good. Like, me harboring this feeling will cost me more. Let me say that again. Me harboring this feeling towards her will cost me more than letting it go right now. So it was just like a risk analysis for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this ain't worth it. You know? Because then the other thing is this, man. I harbor these feelings, I do all of this, and God forbid something happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, that's petty as fuck. Like, this what I'm upset about in the grand scheme of things is a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna allow X amount of days, months, weeks to go by not speaking, and unfortunately not knowing, unbeknownst, those could have been the last weeks, months, days I had with that individual. So I was just like, man, it ain't worth it. Because then now I don't forgive her. God forbid something happens. Now I'm dealing with that postpartum. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
so why not put in whatever work is necessary for you as an individual, right? Why not now, while you can, put in whatever work is necessary to figure out what's the most comfortable space for that relationship in your life, so you can avoid it.
I'm gonna be honest, yo. I knew once I opened up the door, she was gonna walk right in, which is great. Like, that's what I wanted. But I'm gonna be honest. That forgiveness was more for me than them.
Word, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I wasn't expecting nothing from that. Like, that was selfish. It was a selfish move on my part to forgive them. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I looked at what it's going to cost me, right? But we got to get to a place where we good with that.
And forgiveness come with a cost sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes forgiveness come with a cost, bro. Like, for me, that's what it is. It's like, yo, I'm working my ass off right now to forgive y'all motherfuckers for shit that I feel is like a pure violation. No way around it. There's no discussion for how I feel I was violated by both of them, right? I'm doing so much work about this that we can't go back to where we were, because it's not possible now because of where you've put us. And that's okay. And in the grand scheme of things, we may not feel in our heart, obviously we may want that person around, but and like you said, Bill, sometimes forgiveness comes with cutting somebody off too. Sometimes you can't be around that energy in order to truly forgive them. Yeah. They've lost a place, a couple of notches on that tier, man. So
yeah, and you can still love that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I talked about on a podcast, one of my dudes, Sandbox, came up with him in the sandbox and been in shit together and got us each other out of stuff. And we back good now, but there was a time where, like, I forgave him, but I just wasn't rocking with him. He wasn't rocking with me. And that was okay. I still
Mhm.
loved him. God forbid he ever got in a bind, I would be there for him, but I couldn't be there day to day for him. You know what I'm saying? But now we good, right? So, but I again, I'm gonna give my final thought right now, right? Because it's on my mind. Like, yo, forgiveness is about you more than the individual, right? Like, that's my opinion, right? It's more about you than it is the individual. Like they say, you can't control what people do to you, but you can control how you respond.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes, like, what they do to you tells me more about them than you.
Right.
Right now, how you respond will tell me everything I need to know about you. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. I look at it like that, and I'm like, yo, I'm building something, my life, like however I want my life to be.
Yes.
I didn't factor this piece in,
Yes.
right? So I got to let it go because this is only going to deter me or deviate where I'm intending to go. So that's how I look at it, man. Like I look at it like that. Now, granted, there's gonna be some egregious things people do to you. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, and again, I'm not trying to simplify this, but the fact is it happened, right? And you're here still. So you can hold on to it, but I promise you a piece of you, they're gonna always have as long as you hold on to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's my final thought.
And I'll throw mine in and let you rap, Chief. You've been kind of quiet, but I'll say this. I know for me, my final thought, I want to be at peace and I want genuine forgiveness where it needs to be more than I need or want anybody specific in my life. Straight up. I want to be healthy internally, outwardly, more than I need any relationship. And so if having a relationship with anybody is going to deter my mental, emotional, and physical health, I'm no longer willing to have that relationship. And I have come to be at peace with that. So I want to encourage people to come to peace with learning how to heal yourself, despite how challenging and hurtful the process may be. Learn how to come to peace with.
I think those are two exponentially great final thoughts. And P, I honestly think you summed it up best. And I think I'm going to title the episode with this, man. And it's real simple. Forgiveness comes with a cost. And that's the reality of it, yo. Forgiveness comes with a cost. You know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, yo, I appreciate you boys, yo. Today was, again, I think the coolest part about it is we was able to get heavy and deep into the conversation and had no idea it was going to take that direction. I think that's the part about the fluidity of the conversation and just the connection we have is dope. So if anything, forgiveness comes with a cost, and get yourself a group of people you can trust, man, who going to tell it to you straight and hold you accountable, because you'll become a better person for that, yo. For real. That's dope. But again, find us on all social media outlets at All Black Men Need Therapy. Email us at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com. We got some good news coming. We've been saying it for 2 months now.
We've been saying it for hella long. We got good news.
The good news is coming. We're going to share it with y'all. I promise you we're going to share. Y'all going to be hyped. Y'all going to be hyped for us and hyped with us. But the good news is coming. I promise you we're going to tell y'all that. I think that's it, yo. Per usual, do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
And if he's musty, let him know.
Tell him he's musty, please.
Please tell him he's musty, man. We got to start doing that.
Hug a black man today and tomorrow, y'all.
And tell him tomorrow, too. If he's musty the next day, tell him.
We out.
Peace.
Peace.